Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are getting up close with one of Africa's most amazing animals, the black rhino. Seriously, we're going to explore all the incredible ways this creature is perfectly built for life out in the bushland.
Okay, so let's just dive right in with a big question. If a black rhino isn't, actually black, where in the world did it get its name? It sounds like a real mystery, but the answer is probably a lot simpler than you think.
Well, there are a couple of pretty good ideas. One is that the name comes from the dark, muddy soil they just love to wallow in. I mean, it gets all over their gray skin and makes them look black. The other theory? It might just be a simple way to tell them apart from the white rhino. And get this, the white rhino's name is probably just a mix-up, a mistranslation of an Afrikaans word for wide, talking about its lips.
All right, so here's what we've got on tap. We're going to meet the hook-lipped rhino, check out its home in the bushland, and look at the amazing tools it has for browsing. Then we'll get into its life as an armored acrobat, its surprisingly complex social network, and wrap up with its life of, well, solitude. Let's do it.
Okay, first up. So the name black rhino might be a little misleading, right? But its other name, the hooked-lipped rhino, now that one tells you pretty much everything you need to know about how this animal lives.
You can really see the main difference between Africa's two rhino species right here. It's literally written all over their faces. The black rhino has that hooked lip, which is perfect for browsing, eating leaves and twigs from bushes. So its head is held up high. But the white rhino? It has a wide, square lip, built for grazing on grass, so its head is almost always pointed down.
So, because it has this very specific diet of leaves and twigs, that means the black rhino is totally adapted to live in some very specific places, basically wherever its favorite snacks are growing.
Yeah, they absolutely love areas with thick vegetation, grasslands, savannas, and especially bushlands. I mean, it makes sense, right? This dense scrub gives them tons of food and great cover. And how much space they need, their home range, can be huge or relatively small. It all just depends on how much food, water, and, salt licks are around.
So you have to wonder, how does this enormous animal, we're talking over 1,000 kilograms, manage to delicately pick tiny leaves off a super thorny tree? Well, it all comes down to a very specialized piece of equipment. And that tool is its prehensile lip. Seriously, this thing is amazing. It's this muscular, pointed upper lip that works almost like a finger or pair of pliers. It can grab onto branches, strip the leaves right off, and pull them into its mouth, all without getting poked by thorns. It's incredible.
I love this quote. The black rhino can be compared to a tree pruner and the white rhino to a lawnmower. It just nails it, doesn't it? The white rhino is down low, mowing the lawn, while the black rhino is up high, acting like a gardener, pruning the trees and bushes. They have totally different jobs in their environment.
And because of that amazing lip, black rhinos are not picky eaters at all. We're talking about a diet of up to 220 different kinds of plants. They're especially fond of woody stuff like acacia. And what's really wild is that they can eat plants that are actually poisonous to other animals. This also means they can go for up to 5 days without water just by eating juicy, succulent plants. What a survivor. Okay, so we've established it's a delicate eater. But now let's look at the other side of the coin. This animal is also an armored acrobat. It's a walking, charging tank built for some serious power and speed. First things first, its defense is basically a built-in suit of armor. In some spots, its skin is 5 centimeters thick. That's like 2 inches. It's perfect protection against sharp thorns and anything else that might get in its way. And then you have the horn. The longest one ever recorded was 1.5 meters long. Wow. They use it for defense, for sure, but also for digging up roots and breaking branches to get to the good stuff. And it's made of keratin, the exact same stuff as your own fingernails. And don't let that size fool you for a second. These guys are fast. When they decide to charge, they can hit 55 kilometers per hour. That is way faster than any human can sprint. They are absolute powerhouses. So here's something you really need to get about rhinos. They don't really see their world. They hear and smell it. Their eyesight is, well, it's not great. But their hearing, it's excellent. Those big tube-shaped ears can swivel around like radar dishes, picking up sounds from all over. And their sense of smell is just off the charts. Their nasal passages are actually bigger than their brain. All right, so we often think of rhinos as these solitary loners, right? But that's not the whole story. They actually have a really complex and honestly fascinating social network. It just happens, kinda, from a distance. Yeah, they aren't strictly solitary. Females, for example, will often have territories that overlap, and you might see younger rhinos hanging out in loose groups. But the strongest bond, by far, is between a mother and her calf.
So how do they stay in touch if they're not hanging out? This is so cool. They use something called a dung mitten. Basically, it's a communal bathroom spot that works like an information center, a kind of rhino message board.
Think of it like this. First, a rhino goes to one of these middens. They use the same ones over and over. Then it takes a good sniff. That scent tells them everything. Who's been there, their age, their sex, all the local gossip. Finally, it leaves its own message and then kicks its feet around to spread the scent. It's their version of posting a status update, and it's a genius way for these animals to stay connected. And this whole unique social system, this long-distance communication network, really shapes the entire life of a black rhino. Let's take a look at their life cycle. You know, males and females lead very different lives. The bulls, the males, are pretty solitary and really territorial. They'll fiercely protect their home turf and the females in it. The cows, on the other hand, are a bit more social. Their home ranges overlap, and their entire world really revolves around that super strong bond with their calf.
So here's the whole journey, from start to finish. It all begins with a single calf, born after a really long 15 to 16-month pregnancy. That calf sticks with its mom for 2 or 3 years, learning everything it needs to know. Then it heads out on its own, and between 5 and 8 years old, it's ready to start its own family. And they can live for a good long while, anywhere from 35 to 50 years out in the wild.
So, when you put it all together with this amazing toolkit for survival and such a unique way of communicating, you realize the black rhino is so much more than just a big animal. It's this powerful, ingenious, and really complex creature. And it just leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What other secrets is the hook-lipped rhino still hiding out there in the bushlands?